Hi, good morning everyone. My name is actually Keiki Fujii, my birth name that my parents gave me. My artist name for the last, all through my career has been Keiki. And we are here in this beautiful home of Kei Sekimachi. Today is September 6th and we are being interviewed by Amy Baldwin for a special project that the Berkeley Historical Society is doing for the Japanese Americans in Berkeley, California.
How did you end up in Berkeley? Where were you born and what brought you to Berkeley?
I was born in San Francisco and raised here and lived here all my life. So,
For me, my dad was born in San Francisco. My mom's from Menlo Park, and they knew Kei. That's how I know Kei. And I was born in Oakland and also raised here in Berkeley. So both of us are native Berkeleyans.
Yeah, you went to public schools? Yeah.
oh yes, yes. Let's say I went to, grammar school, Longfellow, then to Burbank, and then we were evacuated. We were Japanese Americans were all sent to relocation camps, and what else was I trying to say? So other than that, I lived for 1 year in Cincinnati, Ohio, and that was just an interesting experience. But relatives were coming back to Berkeley, and so we thought, and then we were being, the government was paying our way back if we came back within a year. So decided, well, we better, if we're coming back, we better do it.
And how did you find returning? I mean, the community was disrupted by being broken up and moved out, but when you moved back to Berkeley, did you feel like the community, re-met everyone and came back together?
Let me think. Let's see, how many years had passed?
Well, I think my parents were in there for at least 2 years, and they couldn't go back. They couldn't come back to Berkeley. They had to go to the East Coast. So mine went to the East Coast, and then they came back here and started to start over again. But it was quite the time, and I was born after that. My parents actually met in the camps.
I see.
Maybe they would not have met if it weren't for the camps.
Right.
So my mom's from Menlo Park, so. But Berkeley, I think, is a amazing place because I was just talking to Kei earlier, how there's so much history here and so much creativity and artistry and so much going on here that I feel really grateful to be here in Berkeley.
So how do you think being in Berkeley affected your career as an artist or your choice to become an artist, or what was the influence of being, do you think?
We lived on Berkeley Way, and it just happened that Mine Okubo was living across the street from us. And so I didn't really get to know her well then, but I certainly did afterwards. But let me think.
Mine Okubo was also in the camps.
Right.
As well as many other famous artists, Japanese American artists.
That's right.
And so, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just going to say that, remember we did this show together, Kei, and that honored all the Japanese American artists that were, not all, but many of them that were in the camps. And, we had created this show, and Kei was in it, that honored the Executive Order 9066. This was a fundraiser for that. But anyway, I pretty much produced that, and we honored Kate's birthday at that, and it was really a good fun and success. So she would, anyway, Kate was saying how she's been influenced by different artists in Berkeley, growing up in Berkeley, how it influenced your career.
Right.
Take your time.
Yes. Okay, there we were in Topaz, Utah, and the government was anxious to get all of us relocated. And so we had, my mother worked for a woman here in Berkeley whose mother lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, and actually she was a doctor and lived there. And so Dr. Murray said she would take my mother and my younger sister in, and we would go, my older sister and I would go to a hostel. And so that's how we ended up in Cincinnati.
And then you said Mine Okubo lived across the street from you, who was an artist in the camps.
On Berkeley Way. She lived in this little house, and I didn't get to know her then, but I certainly knew of her. And I think one time something was delivered to our house, and so she had to come over and pick it up. So I felt like I knew her a little bit. Well, I was a student at the California College of Arts and Crafts. How I afforded it, I have no idea, but there I was. And I went to upstairs to the weaving room, and I was just absolutely captivated. It just fascinated me, seeing the girls sitting at the looms and throwing the shuttle and weaving. And so with the last $150 I had, I went out and I bought a loom. So that's how I got started.
Yeah, and do you feel like the community in Berkeley, or the Japanese American community in particular, was supportive of your choice to pursue that?
Oh gosh, no, we never did really belong to the Japanese community. And number one, my mother went to a church, a Plymouth Brethren, and they were, it was a national church, but very few Japanese.
Well, it's interesting because my mother was also a weaver artist, so she did some textile stuff.
And your mother was a weaver.
Yeah, very little bit. I mean, she was a stay-at-home mom and not a professional artist at all, but that was what she had done a lot of. And I feel like in Berkeley in particular, in the era that my mom was growing up, there was a very strong community of textile artists and people who are very interested in world culture in a way that I feel like it's kind of in some way died out compared to my mother's generation. But I briefly worked for Yoshiko Wada, and through her I've heard of all these different textile artists in Berkeley, and I don't think that was necessarily common, or I feel like it's doesn't have the strength that it did during my mother's generation. And so the part, you two being part of that community, I feel like there must have been some kind of nurturing community of a bunch of people working in things like textiles and having that interest. And in some ways, I believe that Kay especially has gotten that art medium recognized as a real art. In some ways, it may have been considered a craft or, some kind of homemade something previously, but I think you guys are part of a generation that elevated it truly to like an artistic level. And so I was just curious to know what,
Mhm.
you know, if there was something in the community
Mhm,
of
mhm.
each other, or
Yeah.
maybe the upbringing you had that kind of pushed that forward.
Well, you certainly did take it to an art form, that's for sure. It's,
Well, let
in
me
the
say,
museums
uh,
and myself as well.
Were there other Berkeley artists that were sort of a part of the community?
you know, I think we kind of,
Well, you told me that you had, Kay was, of course, had friends like Ruth Asawa, but everybody was working, so they didn't socialize much. Right? Is that what you said?
that's it. We didn't want to call each other that much because we knew each other, that we were working and we wanted to work. And so,
So what was when you were working, what, were you making art and also teaching at the same time?
yes, yes.
Were you
yeah.
a full-time teacher, or?
No, I was always a part-time teacher, but I taught at the San Francisco Community College for quite a few years. 17 years until, well, they gave me a little certificate when I actually retired.
You married your husband,
Right.
who's the Bob Stocksdale. Well, he's an artist, so of course she wants to be with an artist, a creative person. There's not too many Japanese American men artists, but anyway, it's like you just have to kind of follow your heart, and I think that's what. I mean, Berkeley is a free-spirited place, right? And so, for me, I always felt that I loved the Japanese community, you know, where I came from. At the same time, I felt like I needed to expand. But I always honor who I am and where I came from and my ancestors. And I love the culture, and I'm grateful. So
yeah, how about you tell me about your marriage outside of the Japanese American community, but in the artist community, how did you meet your husband?
Well, let's see. We were, there was a brand new a gallery, showplace opening up in Menlo Park. I think it was Menlo Park, still called Sterling Associates. And so, Bob was going to be in the show, and so was I. And so he just invited me to drive down with him. And so that's how we got actually started. And then,
how did he know of you?
how did you?
Did you both live in Berkeley at the time?
I'm sorry?
Did you both live in Berkeley at the time?
Yes, we lived 5 blocks from each other. Isn't it? Let's see, right here, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, and I lived on Lilia Street. And anyway, we were practically neighbors.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Totally meant to be.
Approximately what year was that?
Was that 1960? Oh boy. So I need to look up my own biography.
You'll have to make yes, you'll have to make a biography.
I think it was
for sure.
about 1960, yeah.
My parents knew people like Kay, and then in the camps, there was Chiro Obata, and he's very famous artist as well, Ruth Asawa, and I had known of their works, and my dad actually commissioned Chiro Obata to make a painting for our living room in the house. So I've always been exposed to
Mm-hmm.
beautiful art, and then just in Berkeley there was this wearable art movement going, and my mom made all of our clothes when we were growing up, and so we were always going to the fabric store and choosing fabrics. You know, I've known Kay all my life basically,
Right.
and
Yeah. I knew your father, I think, more than your mother. Yeah.
Maybe because you were born in San Francisco.
Yeah, I think so.
And then both of them came to Berkeley. And so I remember going to artists' houses, especially Churo Obata's granddaughter.
Right.
Mia Kodani was a textile artist.
Right,
And so
right.
she really inspired me too,
Right.
for my career. But I'm also a multimedia artist now. I paint.
Right.
And I've always wanted to communicate through my work. Nature has been my biggest inspiration, and through my colors and imagery, and how people feel when they wear my work, and when they see themselves and other people in it. My goal is to help people to feel happy, and to just feel all the love and care that I put into each one of my pieces. So I think being an artist, I have a certain privilege to be able to express myself in that way, and to have my creations come out and bring beauty to the world. That's what we're here to do, right, Kay?
Right.
We're here to
Well,
bring
beautifully
beauty.
spoken. I mean,
And
I'm not articulate, so. All I know is the only thing I did well was to draw. And so all our spare time we played with paper dolls. And I still have them because I spent so much time working on them. And, you know, making clothes and drawing and
so you're weaving. When you started to weave, and it just sort of evolved of how you created these incredible little museum quality vessels and pieces of objects, really objects of woven art is what they really are. Incredible.
gosh,
Fine work.
let's see. Okay, I was a part-time student at California College of Arts and Crafts, and I was lucky enough to study with Trude Gormandre, and then, okay, she went to teach at Haystack Mountain School of Crafts in Maine, and she asked me to sub for her. So that's how I got started teaching. And well, that's how I ended up teaching as well as doing my own work.
And weaving at the same time. I went to UC Santa Barbara, and I was studying just general subjects, and then I wanted to be a graphic designer, so I transferred to Davis. And up at Davis there was a series of textile design, and I thought I want to take those. And one day artist came in to our class, and she was going to Japan to study. No, she already had been studying in Japan Roketsuzome, which is the batik wax. technique of painting textiles in Japan. And at that time, there were other women going to Japan studying different techniques of textile art and design, shibori and katazome, and I thought, and they were coming back and they were creating one-of-a-kind wearable art, which was here in Berkeley. Remember all those shops that they had, wearable art? And I thought, that's what I want to do, because that's the kind of clothing that I love to have. I believe in all of us being unique, right? And so I told my dad I want to go to Japan and study textile art and design, and he said, okay. Much to his dismay, he did not want me to be an artist, but he supported me anyway. I was very lucky. And then from there, I went to Japan. My dad helped me find a connection where I found the studio where I studied, and also the lady that I lived with, and I learned a very intricate technique of hand painting kimono called musen yuzen. And it was different than the traditional yuzen in that my teacher was actually an oil painter. So he created his own unique technique of painting kimono. He painted it like a painting, like a canvas. And I think that's what influenced me to have the motivation or the desire to do the best caliber of work that I could in this field, rather than just a craft, as you were saying. At that time, there was a store called Obiko, and Sandra Sakata had started Obiko, which was the place to have your work. If you were anybody who was creating artware or jewelry, that was like the gallery where you wanted to be.
That's right.
So that's what I strove to do, that caliber of work with my painting. And so when I came back from Japan, I had learned this very tedious, intricate technique that who was going to pay me for that? So I had to create my own unique styles of painting. And then one thing led to another. I started to paint my own one-of-a-kind art silks and then design my own clothing. And that's what I did for over 30 years. Being Japanese American has that sensibility of being able to have that refinement, so to speak. Yet when I came back, I had learned this so incredibly refined technique that I wanted to really break out of that. And I wanted to just paint and express myself. And so I did this whole breakout series that I call, and then I used different material. I was still using the traditional materials, but I used different paint brushes and different objects to paint in my own way. And that's how I started to evolve my work into more paintings. And then people would commission me to do things for their homes. And but then I did my career for clothing for over 30 years. But that chapter is closed now because it's just not sustainable. Talk about changing. There's no really wearable art movement anymore. After Sandra passed away, Obiko passed away, and all that movement was gone, basically. Kay's continued her career because she's brought it as an art form, and then she's been in so many museums and many shows. But also Obiko has been recognized. We did it's called the Obiko Archive Project, and a lot of us who were involved with Obiko with our work has been documented at the Dion Museum and the Textile Art Council. So that was, Sandra was Japanese American. Sandra Sakata. That was in San Francisco. It originated with some very amazing, talented artists. So Sandra got together with them. She was the liaison between us, the artists, and then the customers. the people who came, the clients, and that was the wearable art gallery.
Right, right.
So for me, for now, I am doing artwork, multimedia, paintings. I was telling Kay that I'm working on a project right now, and it's about creating a symbol. It's called the sovereign bird, and it's about freedom. It's about claiming our freedom as individuals. And I think that I'm thinking about how my parents, my ancestors, Kay, have been in the, in this, well, all of us, every single person on this planet has gone through stuff. And it's just the way of the world. But I think now we are coming into this space where we're really, there's so much turmoil going on in the world, and really we just really want to be free, and we just want to have peace. And for me, it's all about love. It's all about really coming into our hearts and loving one another, no matter what. And I hope that my work is able to evoke that and inspire that in people. These two bowls that you have there, one was you made from the hornet's nest,
Yes.
and the other is Bob's bowl
Yes.
that he made.
Right.
And Farrell said that your hornet's nest is made out of the mold of Bob's bowl. So these two are called what again?
A marriage in form.
Marriage in form.
Anyway,
Beautiful.
when I would get a hornet's nest, I would try to break it apart in as large pieces as possible. But anyway, so I still have boxes, you can't pack it down, so it's just sort of floating around in these boxes. But if you want to play with hornet's nest paper, I've got it.
Okay, sounds
got
good.
it,
Maybe
yes.
I'm a multimedia artist, so I'm gonna think about how I can incorporate.
Right.
That would be really
Right.
great.
And that's
Thank you.
a leaf bowl.
A leaf bowl, that's beautiful.
Maybe the leaf bowl, the leaves.
The leaves to make the bowl.
Right.
Were the leaves like that, or you did something?
Yeah,
to
they
them?
were.
Really?
That's how they were given to me.
Oh,
But
incredible.
was it Sheila O'Hara up in Clear Lake? She picked up a lot of leaves and would just send it to me. Did I dye some of the leaves black? Or did I paint? Yeah. So that we had black leaf bowls.
What kind of fiber is that, Kate?
Mine is linen.
Linen, okay.
And the piece hanging over the banister there is, I think it's from the Philippines, and it's not banana, but it's some kind of fiber.
Kay certainly brought beauty and graciousness through her work. So, yeah, thank you so much. And Kay, how about when you're weaving, I'd like to ask a question if I may. When you're weaving, are you thinking about anything, or are you just allowing it to come and you just let it evolve as you are, or do you know what you're going to make? Because that's a question. Sometimes I have an idea what I'm going to do, but it doesn't always turn out that way.
Right.
Because when I'm open and I just allow it to come, and we're just feeling that and wanting to express ourselves, that's when the most beautiful things come out, I think.
I love just the process of weaving,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
throwing the shuttle,
Mhm.
beating, and I would always say, for me, it was throw, beat, change. Throw, beat, change. And,
The
Yeah,
rhythm,
rhythm, yeah.
the pulse, yeah, the beat, the
Mhm.
heartbeat,
maybe, yeah,
the heartbeat
Yeah.
of love.
right.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
And then we was beat, change.
Aw. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.